tree fell over, hit the power lines, and that's what started the fire.
Russ, who lived in his home for 40 years, said he and neighbors fought all day to keep the fire from spreading.
We had a hard time holding it back, but we were winning the game. And then the water turned off. And then there wasn't anything we could do. Then the sparks were blowing up out of the Gulf.
And you see, this is why I feel so strongly about this Maui situation. Look, I understand that in the middle of chaos, in the middle of a catastrophe, decisions have to be made on the spot. And even these people who are running our country and running this world, they're capable of making mistakes. But when you hear things like they cut the water off in the middle of these people fighting the fire, I can't help but feel like that's more than a mistake. Common sense tells you that people are going to need the water to fight the fire. Even if it's not the people, the firefighters are going to need the water. If anyone needs the water right now, it's the people whose homes are burning down, who are trying to stop this fire from spreading. So the reason I feel so strongly about this is because if you know the full details and you pay attention, you see that this stuff, it goes beyond a mistake. Common sense, I mean, this is not a decision that should have ever been made. Can any of you all come up with a good reason as to why they would cut the water off in the middle of these fires? They were probably, I don't want to say too much, but I guess maybe someone got upset that the people of Maui were banding together and they were holding the flames back. Maybe they didn't want that to happen. Maybe, just maybe, someone didn't want the flames to be held back. Because if they didn't want this fire to spread, then why would they cut the water off? It's not some big conspiracy. It's just common sense. And this is why I encourage people not to go off the rails when it comes to stuff like this. They want you all talking about laser beams and stuff like that. And listen, I'm not saying that that didn't happen. Direct energy weapons are real. Lasers and stuff are real. I don't necessarily think that they used these weapons on Maui, but the point is this. They want you all to focus on stuff like that. They want you all to talk about stuff like that so you're automatically written off by most of society. Yeah, people like me, people like you, we're on the same page. We know there's a lot of weird stuff going on, but the majority of our society, they start seeing talk about laser beams and things like that, and they automatically turn around and write everything off as a conspiracy theory, and they never look any further. But there are very simple things that we can point out that any person, even if any person, should be able to kind of grasp. You know what I mean? Cutting the water off, blocking escape routes. I just feel like there's so many things that we could hone in on so we could really start having the conversation before we take it to the next level. I think the problem in this country right now is that we have a lot of people like you and me. We're kind of informed. We kind of know that there's a lot of messed up stuff going on, and then there's people who kind of don't. And the problem is, I feel like a lot of the people who have knowledge and know that there's all this stuff going on, they lay it on too heavy on people. They lay things too heavy on people. They do too much too quickly. A lot of these people, they're automatically just going to write everything off. if they start hearing about lasers and, you know, all of these crazy agendas that we know are real, but at the same time, these people, they're not ready for that yet. So there's simple little details that we can point out. And I understand that some people watch my videos and they want me to go harder and they want me to say more, but in doing so, you're not really awakening a new crowd of people. You're just preaching to the choir. I want people from any level of understanding, from any walk of life, to be able to come into one of my videos and kind of catch on to some of the things that are going on here. But I want to show you all this clip really quick, because, you know, these people were forced to go to Front Street. And on Front Street, there's not much land. Your back is against the wall. There's a street, there's the beach, you know, there's the ocean, and then there's fire. So they kind of put them in a place where you either have to somehow try to survive while floating in the ocean for hours in the middle of all of this smoke, or you die in the flames. But we had a situation like the Titanic. People holding on to plywood and little pieces of, you know, whatever junk they could grab that would float in the ocean. Literal pieces of wood floating in the ocean saved people's lives because, unfortunately, they were blocked from escaping and law enforcement directed them to Front Street, which was right on the ocean. But anyways, they don't want you to think about these decisions too much. So let's just go ahead and watch this clip, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
It was scary. People were scrambling for their lives.
The firefighters all might be trapped.
Because there was about 30, 40 of us out there floating in the water in the dark, just not knowing where to go. The dad gave me the 2-year-old, and from that time that he gave it to me, I had that son in my arms that clung onto my neck for about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours in the water. The mom didn't want to come in. The husband grabbed her, and that plywood saved our lives. We hung on to it, and we floated around with about 6 or 8 of us around the plywood, just hanging onto the edges. I had the 2-year-old just clinging onto my neck. As we were in the water, we heard people screaming. It was like bombs going off. It's like someone just dropped a bomb, or a fire goddess was just out there just going boom, 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 and fires just pop up everywhere.
I do find it interesting for sure, and I know a lot of you all probably raised your eyebrow when he said it. When he said it was almost like bombs going off, and fires start here, and fires start there, and fires start here. Huh. I don't know exactly what happened down in Maui, but I know from listening to the locals, you know, I don't believe everything I see online. I've been patiently sitting back and just allowing the people who were actually in the area to talk, trying to gather whatever clips of them on the internet I can to show you all, because they're trying to spread the message. And people in this area, they're not making me feel good about the situation at all. They're revealing the reality. And I think a lot of people in this area weren't people that were necessarily on the same page as people like me and like most of you all. You know, I think this was an eye-opening situation for them as well. I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it's hard not to just keep just dwelling on the fact that they cut the water off and they forced people to an area where they couldn't escape, and looking at these families out there holding on to driftwood and plywood and whatever they could to survive. They're lucky to be alive, and quite frankly, they should have never been put in that position. They were failed. Their government failed them. The people who were in charge of these type of situations, they failed them. And the more and more you hear and the more you see, the more and more it looks like this is not a simple mistake. But they want to just keep brushing things off and brushing things off Over 1,000 people missing from one small area. They're not talking about it. All they talk about is this, this count that's still like 114, or I don't even remember the count that they played on the news last time I checked, because I'm not listening to them. I'm listening to the people on the ground. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.